Hey everybody, the other day I realized I had done something terrible. I'd gone almost all of December without shooting a roll of film. And so on Friday, with cold weather and snow outside, I decided to take my good old Nikon S3 rangefinder and a couple rolls of film and go out and shoot some. And I went to the park and I went to a few other places, but there were two photos I was really happy with. The first one was this one right here. And this is a photo of a tree that was blocking the path. I've taken a photo of this tree before in half frame, but this one, there's snow on it, and I was really happy with the way this one turned out. And I also took a photo of a frozen island, this island in the middle of a frozen lake with all these little birds' nests and stuff in the top. And I was really happy with the way that one turned out as well. So let me take you on a quick flyby of the whole thing, from shooting these two photos to developing them, printing them, and dry mounting and matting them. Let's get to it. This is the Nikon S3. It's an awesome rangefinder camera, though being a mid-century camera, it's a little bit fiddly. You gotta take the back off in order to put the film in. But it's a lot easier than a Leica. Still, some people might find this too fiddly for their taste. It's a great camera though. Get it all together. And take a couple blank frames, and we should be good to go. Now let's go to the park. This is one of my favorite places to take photos. And a few months back, I was in here taking some photos, and when the leaves were still on the trees, and I found this cool looking tree that was blocking the trail. And I want to take a picture of it today with the snow on it. And there we go. There's the shot. Now let's take a look at this frozen lake. There's two islands here. And I first took a photo of the one that you see in the front there. It was kind of a challenge to get there, kind of navigating through the brambles and everything to get to where I didn't have branches in the way. But then I looked to the right and there was this other island. And so we turn around, and there's the other island. And I like the fact that the trees were all straight up and down, and I had those birds' nests and stuff, and it's pretty cool. So that's the one I got the picture of. That's it. We are done. Let's go back to the truck. Let's develop the roll of film. We've done this before. Put it all in a black bag. Do some work in the Patterson tank here. Put a photo flow. And hang it up. Now I have to select the photos we want to print, and my wife helped me with that. She picked the two. And so here we go. Getting them out of my archival binder. And you see right here, this is the shot, the second one from the left. That's the one we're going to print. And we load up the enlarger, wipe off any dust. It's a little bit fiddly here, getting it loaded inside the enlarger. We use a 50mm lens when we're printing 35mm. And I'm going to set it at f8. You really want to put it somewhere in the middle. You don't want it at either end. And let's get it all lined up. And I'm using that thing that looks like a weird microscope to focus on the grain, and that's what you do. You don't focus on the image, you focus on the grain. Get our settings all right and write them down. Ilford Multi-Grain Developer. 75 milliliters, I'm mixing it 1 to 10. So that's going to give me 750 milliliters. That water is 68 degrees. And we're going to use citric acid as our stop bath. I don't like using acetic acid. It smells terrible. Citric acid does the same thing and doesn't stink. A little bit of stir, stir, stir. And we take it to my darkroom. You do not need running water to have a darkroom. You just bring your chemicals where you need them. You just want to have running water nearby. I've got my rinsing tray set up. And that's where I'm going to dry things. Let's get to it. Developer, stop bath, and fixer. Doing a test strip right now where you just cover different sections of a strip over time as you're exposing it, and that gives you an idea of how many seconds you need to expose the whole print for. And you really want to do it on the lightest part of your print. In this case, I'm using the sky. So I'm going to get something with various shades of gray, and I'm going to have to pick which of the shades of gray is suitable for the sky. I used a fairly coarse setting. I did half f-stops for my setting. And after I chose the one I wanted, I did another test strip with 1/6 f-stops. But you see, this gives you a really good start. And where my finger is, that's the one I think I'm going to go for, where you can see a little bit of gray in the sky. And so this is my first print. My first print I did actually set it for 100 seconds, which sounds really long for a lot of people. But this is a diffusion enlarger. And it's also, I'm printing 8x10, so it takes quite a while. Moment of truth. Here's a sheet of paper. And I skipped the 100 seconds, so you didn't have to sit through that. And this is where the magic happens. For 1 minute in the developer, and there you can see the photo starting to appear. It's awesome. It never gets old. Give it a quick dip in the stop bath. 10 seconds there to kill the developer. And now we put it in our fixer and give that 30 seconds. At this point, we can take it out. And there's the photo. We just need to give it a 2-minute rinse. And here we are the next day, and we're ready to mount it and mat it. So I got to trim the white edges off of the photos, and I do this on both of them. And I put it up in the upper left corner of the board and mark where the photo stops. This is how I'm going to center it. You'll see what I do. I'll take the ruler and measure how many inches it is from the side of the photo to the side of the board, and I'm going to divide that in 2. I have a nifty ruler that actually has a half scale on one side, so I just flip it around and read the same number on the half scale. Use a triangle just to make sure I got it perfectly square, because this is the edge we're going to line the photo up with when we mount it. I do the same thing, sort of, in the other direction. I'm going to have to make a little mark where the halfway point is, and then I'm going to draw an angled line. And there's a special way you do this in order to get the photo to sit high in the saddle. You want your photo to be a little bit higher than the center line. This is for artistic reasons. I've got this little tacking iron. It's basically a glorified clothes iron. And I'm going to turn it up to about 220 degrees. And this stuff, this is dry mounting tissue. It's really just a plasticky kind of substance that melts and sticks two things together. And so you see I'm putting it on the back of the photo. I'm going to use that tacking iron to heat the center so that the photo is adhered. Tug test, and it's adhered. Now I'm going to trim the remainder of the tissue from the edges of the photo. Place that according to the lines we drew on the backing board. And now put a piece of non-sticky stuff in there and really give it a good go with the tacking iron. Now warm that thing up. I want to melt that stuff so that it sticks the photo well. You don't want any bubbles or creases. Got to be careful about that. Give it another tug test. We're ready to go. Here's the thing that does the real work. This is the press. Got this heated up to 220. Slip it in between a couple pieces of board. And clamp down on it. And start a timer for 1 minute. Just about done. Let's take it out and see how it looks. What I'm looking for is any bubbles. I want to make sure it's not coming up in the corners or anything like that. And this looks perfect. I need to put something heavy on top. Okay, here I'm using an artist eraser to remove all the pencil lines. Now I'm measuring for the mat. And I'm going to write down the measurements on all sides. I am going to leave a 1/2 inch gap between the mat and the photo. And we just set this little guide, this fence, on the mat cutter. And the first thing we do is, instead of cutting it, we put it in there and we draw pencil lines. This is not just a measure twice and cut once kind of a thing. We do this because when you're making a cut, you have to know where the cut begins and ends. And that's what the pencil lines from the other sides are going to tell you. And the mat cutter uses this cool blade thing, which runs at a 45-degree angle. I'll just put a piece of scrap as backing. Put that up against the fence. And boom, like a hot knife through butter. That thing goes through with effortlessly. And it should. You put in a fresh blade with every job. That's what they recommend. Blades aren't expensive. There we go. And when you've done it right, the center should just drop out. When you do a photo that you're proud of, give it a name and sign it. It's important. You don't want somebody just throwing this away. And there we go. Both of them are done. I'm going to take a piece of archival linen tape and use it to make a hinge. This is the same tape you would use to hang the photo inside on the backing board if you were not doing a dry mount process like I did. Boom. It's all done. Now let's just slide it in some plastic sleeves. And the magic of editing made it look a whole lot easier than it really was. And they're done. So there you have it. These two photos are my last two prints of 2024. I wish you great blessings for you and your family during the coming year of 2025. Now go out there and shoot a roll. Thank you for watching.